Hi again, everyone. Um, Today I will again the book Revolutionary War on Wednesday. Let's begin. He reached into his bag and pulled out the Revolutionary War book. By the dim lantern light in the boat, he searched through the book. He found a painting of General Washington crossing the Delaware River. He showed the painting to Anne. They each read the caption silently. After George Washington crossed the Delaware, he led his men on a 9-mile march to a British post. The post was filled with Hessians, German soldiers hired by the British to fight for them. The American patriots caught them off guard. The Hessians never thought the Patriots would attack on a stormy Christmas night. It was a great victory for the Patriots. They captured almost 1,000 Hessians. Hardly any of Washington's men were lost. Yay! We won't have to send the captain's letter, Jack exclaimed. Annie exclaimed. Shh, said Jack, but George Washington turned around and looked back Jack and Annie. He closed. Oh no, Jack thought, caught again. He closed his eyes as if that would make him invisible. He's coming, said Annie. Jack looked up. George Washington was making his way back toward them. In the next moment, the commander-in-chief loomed above them like a giant shadow. Children, he asked in a quiet, angry voice. Sorry, Jack squeaked. Merry Christmas, said Annie. But George Washington did not say Merry Christmas back. Chapter 7. Spies. What are you doing here? George Washington asked. The commander-in-chief sounded furious. We make a mistake, Jack said. We didn't mean to come. George Washington turned to the rowers. Who let these children sneak aboard? He asked in a stern voice. The men looked at Jack and Annie with surprise. It's not their fault, Annie said quickly. They were working too hard to notice us. Just then the boat banged against the ice. The ice cracked. The boat moved on, then bumped against the shore. Two sailors jumped out and pulled the boat up on shore. Jack Washington looked at Jack and Annie. This boat is returning to get more men, he said. When it does, you two will get out and stay on the other shore. Yes, sir, said Jack. He felt very embarrassed. George Washington then gave orders to the rowers. Make sure the children do not board any of the boats when you return, he said. The general stepped onto the riverbank. The wind started to pick up. The snow fell harder as the crew unloaded the boat. Neither Jack and Anne nor Annie spoke. Jack was miserable. They had caused trouble for George Washington just when the general was trying to make America an independent nation. Jack would desperately wish he and Annie had gone home earlier. They watched more and more boats land on the riverbank. As the sailors unloaded their weapons and horses, a freezing rain began. Now rain, snow, and sleet fell together. Jack heard George Washington call to one of the men. The storm is getting worse, Major, the general said. Thanks, sir, the major said. I think we're in for a blizzard, said Washington. Yes, sir. Our mission may be hopeless, sir, said the major. Should we call it off? No, you shouldn't, Jack whispered. You're going to win. But we turn back, sir? The major said. No, said Annie. She stood up. The boat rocked. Don't turn back, George Washington, sir, she shouted. You have to march on, sir. You have to attack the Hessians, sir. Shush! Jack tried to pull Annie back down. We're not supposed to know about this secret mission. How does she know it's our plans, Major? George Washington asked. Listen to us, sir, said Annie. You're going to win. She pulled away from Jack and jumped out of the boat. Annie! Jack leaped onto the riverbank. He scrambled after Annie up the steep, icy slope. You have to lead your men, General Washington, sir, Annie said. The Hessians will be surprised. They think no army will no marching on a night like this. How do you know all this? The major shouted above the storm. How do you know what the Hessians are doing and thinking? For once, Annie seemed at a loss for words. She just guessed, said Jack. Just then, the bearded soldier who had yelled at Jack earlier stepped forward. I saw this boy come earlier, he said. He was running things down. No, I was just... Now Jack was at a loss for words. Seize them, the major shouted. They're spies. Chapter 8. These are the times. Jack grabbed Annie's hand. We're not spies, he said. He whirled around to face George Washington. General Washington, remember those words you said to your men? Jack said. You should believe them yourself, sir. What are you talking about? George Washington asked. Jack yanked the captain's letters from his bag. By the light of the lamp, he read the words the captain had copied for his children. These are the times that try men's souls, Jack read. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. Jack looked at George Washington. Even if things look impossible, you should keep going, sir, he said. The harder things seem, the greater the triumph, right? That's what you need read to your men. You have to keep going for their sake. Yes, and you have to keep going for your sake, said Annie. For the sake of the future children of America, sir. As the wet snow hissed about them, George Washington stared at a long moment at Jack and Annie. Finally, he put a hand on each of their shoulders. I don't know now who you are, he said. I do not believe how you know what you know, but I believe you. For your sake and for the future children of America, we will march on. Yay! Cried Annie. Yay! Said Jack. Softly, he sighed with relief and put away the captain's letter. Now get back in the boat, said George Washington. You must leave the fighting to us, to me and my men. Jack felt very grateful to George Washington and his whole army. They were risking their lives for all of America's children, past and future. He could barely speak. Thank you, sir, said Annie. Thank you for telling me to listen to my own advice, said George Washington. He called to the rowers waiting in the boat. Take good care of these two. George Washington climbed onto his horse. He looked down at Jack and Annie. Merry Christmas, he said. Then the commander-in-chief rode away into the stormy darkness. Chapter 9. Flash. All aboard! One of the rowers called. Jack and Annie hurried down the steep riverbank. They climbed back into the boat. The crew pushed away from the shore. The boat started back through the icy, churning waters of the Delaware River. Jack was freezing in the sleet and snow, but he didn't worry about that now. He was thinking instead about how they had helped George Washington. He was thinking about how they had helped keep history on its course. Jack felt great. When they got to the riverbank, Jack and Annie jumped out of the boat. Thanks, Jack yelled to the rowers. With the wind at their backs, Jack and Annie took off to the blizzard. They ran down the icy bank of the Delaware River. Thunder rumbled in the snowy sky. Lightning zigzagged over the woods. "How will we find the treehouse?" cried Annie. "I don't know," said Jack, "but don't worry, we'll find it." He felt very confident now. After meeting George Washington, after being thanked by George Washington, he and Annie ran on through the rain and the snow and the sleet. They ran along the riverbank until a bright flash of lightning lit up the sky. Then Jack saw it. The treehouse was directly to their left, high in a tall tree covered with snow. "Over there!" he shouted. Jack and Annie ran to the edge of the woods. In the dark, Jack looked up, searching for the treehouse. Lightning lit the woods again. Jack saw the rope ladder flapping wildly in the wind. He grabbed it. "Annie!" he called. "Here!" she said. "Let's go!" said Jack. They climbed up the swaying ladder and scrambled into the treehouse. They were soaking wet and covered with slush and snow. Annie grabbed the Pennsylvania book. "I wish we could go there," she shouted. The wind blew even harder. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. Chapter 10. This peaceful place. Gray early sunlight spilled into the treehouse. Birds sounded in the woods. The summer wind felt warm and gentle. Jack and Annie were wearing their nice dry clothes again. "Oh man," said Jack, "it's good to be home." "Yeah," said Annie, sighing, "back in this peaceful place." Jack pulled the captain's letter out of his bag. He turned it over. It was addressed to Molly and Ben Sanders, Apple Tree Farm, Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. "Molly and Ben lived on a farm near these woods over 200 years ago," said Jack. Annie gently touched the letter. "Your dad is going to make it home, kids. He misses you," Annie whispered, as if she could send comforting words back to the time. Jack carefully placed the writing from the Revolutionary War next to the writing from the Civil War. "Look," said Annie. She picked up a note lying on the corner. It said simply, "Come back on Tuesday." "Another message from Morgan," said Annie. Jack smiled. He pulled out on his pack. "See you on Tuesday, Treehouse," he said. He started down the rope ladder. Annie followed. In the early daylight, they ran through the Frog Creek woods. Then they ran down their street. They climbed onto their porch and rested against the railing. They looked out at the dawn sky. Jack remembered the whoosh of the cold wind on the Delaware. He remembered the hiss of the wet snow and the slosh of the icy waves. He remembered George Washington reading to his men. "The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph." Jack whispered. "Those words are true," said Annie. "It has a hard conflict and I feel glorious right now. Don't you?" Jack laughed. "Yeah, definitely," he said. Then he and Annie slipped into their quiet, peaceful house. That is all of this book. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.